Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward, Chapter 9. Stepping out from the alleyway, I squinted into the light before my senses adjusted. I hadn't taken time to review the list of supplies I had agreed to purchase. Stannon had handed me a small pouch to provide the payment needed. Stannon had not bothered to threaten what would happen if I did not do it as I was tasked. The lack of open threat had much the same effect had he shouted at me. Do not waste this one opportunity, or it will prove to be your last. I rifled through the list, somewhat surprised at what I saw. The list made up an unlikely smattering of unusual supplies. Some made sense. 2 blocks of hard cheese, 3 sausages, 1 small cask of ground barley stone meal. Others, however, made no sense whatsoever. 1 bottle yellow ink, 2 filings of bronze, 1 pouch of amber agates, 1 stoppered vial of dark lizard saliva. I had to shake my head to clear my vision. My body cried for more water in this heat. For the moment, I ignored it. Stepping lightly out into the street, I wish I had a hat to tuck down over my head. The sun beat down mercilessly above. I tried to get my bearings, not sure where to begin. I saw a group of merchants in an open-air market on the other end of the street, a few houses down. It appeared we were nestled near the end of the town. Even though this town was larger than where I had come from, it still seemed to end abruptly. I could clearly see the dunes beyond a few rows of houses, only a thin, meager adobe wall separating them partially from view. A few stubby bushes could be seen near the outskirts of town, but even these were barely on the edge of life. Nothing could survive without constant watering. Many of the locals, no doubt, chose to forego such a luxury. Water was always scarce and in high demand. I gazed back over to the market. Criers could clearly be seen trying to sell their wares to anyone who would listen or wander close enough. With apprehension, I pressed forward, hand tight on my coin pouch. Millie's family had never felt the cold sting of being robbed, but as an orphan, I remember seeing it and the fortunes that were lost by the unwary. "Come this way, lad. Surely you could use a new hat. Master Geoffrey's hats are the best this side of the ocean. Come, let us outfit you. You have coin to spend, aye?" The merchant reached toward my shoulder to pull me into his shop. At just that moment, another reached out from another stand. "No! What the young master needs are fine peaches. These were carried by caravan from the far coast past the blinding cities of Azar. No finer fruit exists under the sand and sky. 1 bite and you will know earthly bliss. Come, young lad, come this way." I managed to duck under each of their outstretched arms, not turning back to their mad cries. I was immediately assaulted by no less than 4 other merchants. "Fine silks for the young lad. Bring it to your master and you will not be disappointed. Only 30 bronze nobles. The young man craves porcelain. The finest creations on earth are here. Bring 1 to catch a lady's favor. Hot piping crosslets, you will be delivered to heaven with each bite. Jewelry fit for a prince is what he will have. Come this way, young master." The din rose to a rolling wave of sound and humanity around me. Everywhere I looked, another merchant stepped forward, proffering yet more goods for me to purchase. As the cries washed over me, I spotted a small stand, recessed away back, with dark carpets lined over its display area. In the middle of the stand, I could spy dark spices and beads of fabulous bronze and amethyst. Fantastical images were hung on the walls of the tent that housed the shop, and I could see golden steam rising from a heavily polished golden urn. Heavy jade figurines dotted the walls of the shop, and stoppered bottles lined a jeweled case that was held open to the light. The case was worked in silver. Great wings could be seen etched into the sides of the case. Behind the lid of one of the cases sparkled jewels of deep jet and circular discs of sapphire blue metal. A geode took up nearly half of a wall, intoxicating purple and white crystals fountaining out of the center of the broken rock shell. Ignoring the cries around me, I pressed forward, almost forgetting the list entirely in my wonder. A small couch had been erected behind the display area, and a dark-skinned merchant sat reclining on cushions, covered from head to toe in a wrapping shawl of dark blues and grays. Only his face emerged from the cowl. The rest of him was lost under the folds of the heavy fabric. The merchant stared at me, but made no move to speak. His dark eyes twinkled in the low light. I followed one of the shelves back deeper into the tent with my eyes, hungrily looking at all the wondrous trinkets and jewels that were lost to view. Heavy smoke and sweet incense swirled in lazy rings around me. I hesitated before taking out my list of supplies. I could see questions forming in the eyes of the merchant, but still he did not speak. I realized I would need to speak first. The strange feeling fell over the tent like a spell, dampening the shouts and cries behind me to a mere distant buzz. I proffered the list to the merchant, hoping I could afford all the items it contained. With a knowing smile, he glanced at the list for the barest second before launching into motion, assembling the list for me. A tattooed hand emerged from the shawl and deftly plucked a jeweled bottle encrusted in strange patterns. It thudded lightly onto the carpeted display area between us. Next came a stoppered vial that had been crafted in the shape of an elongated reptile. The green emerald eyes sparkled unnervingly. Finally, the compact man rummaged in a bowl filled with rubies, agates, marbles of dark hue, and several lesser gems. He spilled a handful of the amber agates into a small hide pouch and drew it tight with a black strap. He twisted to the shelf behind him, and as he did so, I saw untold other sparkling wonders that lay behind him past the couches. A brilliant orange and black beast was painted onto the side of a vase that stood nearly 6 full measures tall. It brushed the roof of the low-hanging tent. It looked foreign and incredibly old. A pile of crystal shards were stacked in triangular groupings. They were almost translucent, but shimmered with brilliant colors when the light caught one of them. Gossamer silks of breathtaking beauty lined the wall, each one no doubt worth a small fortune. In a moment, the merchant returned with a tight cylinder which opened to reveal a heap of bronze shavings. He quickly poured a few into another pouch that clinked when he set it down in front of me. Crossing his arms, he raised his eyes to meet mine and waited. Still, he did not speak. I almost forgot to pull out the coin pouch. Unsure the cost of all he had laid before me, I prayed I would have enough. I would still need to save some for the meats and cheeses for our journey. I fished for the pouch, and the moment the man saw it, he immediately grabbed it, moving with inhuman speed. Quickly opening the pouch and counting, he emptied the pouch and handing it back empty to me. With dark eyes that burned, he looked at me, then at the table between us. A curling smile broke the features of his face. Bright white teeth were revealed as he smiled. He slowly reached forward and took hold of my right forearm. Not understanding what was happening, I allowed him to take hold of my arm. I tried to move, but his grip was iron. Looking up in horror, I finally met his eyes. The man seemed to exhale slowly. Then in a crackling, cryptic voice, he spoke. "The cost is more than you have, child. I will take something else to meet the scales, and I will give a gift. So it will be under the sand and sky." My heart beat quickly in my chest, nervous with fear. I yanked my arm hard, but he held it fast. With painstaking slowness, the man withdrew his other arm from his robe, a dark obsidian blade that curved wildly, moving forward in his other hand. I screamed in terror, but nothing stopped the blade from hovering closer to my upturned forearm. With shuddering breaths, I pushed with all my might, but still he held me immobile. Then, with almost tender precision, he delicately drew the blade over my arm and began etching an image that was made bright with my blood. Fire and molten heat leapt from the blade wherever it touched my skin. The pain caused me to howl, every muscle tensed in unison. Still, he drew away silently, and a pattern began to emerge. Close to fainting from the red streaks of agony, I gritted my teeth. An indeterminable time passed. And then, suddenly it was done. I looked dumbly at my arm and saw a writhing serpent that sparkled wetly in my blood. Next to my hand lay the pouch containing all the items the merchant had gathered for me. Looking up, I saw the merchant turn before walking away, fading into view in the far reaches of the tent.